They're just banking just because it's right across the street.
Right across the street. Yeah.
You know, so knowing those types of things was huge, but really basic organization, you know, learning how to organize your finances. And then now that you've established that, let's create a budget off of that.
Right.
Show me your income, show me all the debts you have. Okay, based off of this number, this is what your ideal budget should be. And can you stick to it, right? Consistency is the key to anything in life.
Yeah.
Anything.
Welcome to the Deals Aloha podcast, where we talk about real estate deals and a whole bunch of other stuff. Hope to impact our audience and, of course, spread aloha. You can find us at Kamohai and Tristyn on all social media platforms. Please like, subscribe, and follow.
Yes, please.
Let's go.
Today's a really cool day because we have a friend.
A friend.
A friend. So we met. I started following you back, I don't know, a few years ago, I feel like, just watching your budget with Soriah.
Yes.
And what you were doing with 101 Financial and helping people get out of debt and achieve a certain level of financial freedom, essentially, right? And just basic financial education. And so that's how I originally found you. And then we were trying to find new contractors, and you connected with a contracting company, and we're doing work for them, and we connected that way.
Yep.
And then we met in person at a janky house.
Super
A scary
janky
house that I didn't even want to go into.
Yeah.
And we just been hanging out ever since.
Yep.
So now she's going to be Build with Soriah on
love
Instagram.
Let's go.
And we're just going to talk about your story because I think you have a lot of good insight and information that tons of people could benefit from hearing.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks to you both for allowing me to be here and share my story. I'm
Yes.
excited.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited.
So my wife and I share an Instagram, right? And
so
it
he
was
sees all my,
probably
"Hey, girl!"
like a couple years ago. Like Soriah started popping up on our feed. It happens all the time. Like some
Tristan's following someone else.
somebody will pop up on our feed, and I'll be like, "Who is this?" And then I looked into it. Totally loved the vibe.
Oh, thank you.
Right off the bat.
Well, local person, entrepreneur, trying to help other local people.
Yep.
How many kids you got?
Too many.
And then like you're a mom, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And then the content's fun but educational.
I just feel like it's so important for our local communities to have a sense of how money works and financial education. And I don't feel like there's enough education out there.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
like
Definitely
when
not in the school system.
yeah, it's crazy. So when I see what you're doing and what you're putting out there and how you're helping local communities, that means everything. That's like, it's so important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially here. So, I mean, obviously getting to talk about that'll be awesome.
Yeah, well, and then just how it's transformed into like what you're doing now and the opportunities that you have now. Like, I
Right.
think it's just a good progression of striving for more, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
what somebody can do if they
Right.
really want to.
Right.
Regardless of where you came from.
Right.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
They don't have enough of it. And I think that's where even my story begins, is like just trying to understand, you know, here's a paycheck. What do I do with it? Like, I know it goes into the bank. Like that's obvious, right? But it's like, okay, well, here's the paycheck. What do I do? Okay, I got to pay this bill, this bill, this bill. And that's a lot of what we get. A lot of the knowledge that we receive is passed down from generational knowledge.
Totally.
Right. And so like at a very young age, I knew that you put the money in the bank and you do this, you pay your bills. The next paycheck, you pay the next section of bills.
Yeah.
But throughout the struggle early in my marriage, my husband is very opposite for me. I was a big spender. My husband's like, oh, that paycheck's just going straight there. Don't touch it. You know?
And you're like, what?
I know. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I don't understand why I can't go spend this money, you know? But like, he came from this knowledge of you save. And then I came from, I worked hard for this. Like, let's just use it, you know? So two totally different mindsets trying to combine.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Marriage. That's marriage in
Marriage. And so like this whole idea of what do I do, I struggled. And then like anybody else, when you struggle with something, and I mean, most people I would think would Google, you know, like, so I'm like getting out there, figuring it out. And then I came across one of my friends one day who just paid off her car. And I'm like, dude, how did you do that? That's a
that?
brand new Sequoia. How did you do that? So I started watching and, just kind of following along. And then I started asking questions, curiosity. And I'm just like, okay, what are you doing? She talked to me about 101 Financial. Immediately when I started to see the spreadsheet back then, and I say back then because it was almost like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, 9 years ago. It was by paper and pencil.
No way.
Yeah. And so like we've totally evolved. Like there's an app now.
Thank God, right?
But I'm like paper and pencil is just penciling all these things out. And I was so excited about it because it answered all the questions I had. Where should my money go? When do I pay it? How often should I pay this bill?
Right.
And then when we first started it, immediately we saw the progress. Immediately we already knew. And I heard this thing long time ago, but when you know better, you do better.
Totally.
And that's the truth. That can apply to anything. You know what I'm saying? So when that happened, we were able to pay off a grip load of debt in that first year.
Wow.
We also took our kids to Disneyland, and then we made it
cool.
a tradition. So like every 3 years, we go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So those little things, that basic knowledge actually translate into so much more than that.
Totally.
It started to become, we could develop traditions. We could create these little traditions for our family. And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. So cool.
So it started out of struggle.
Yeah.
And knowing that, okay, there has to be a solution.
A better
here.
way.
Yeah. Okay. So that was 9 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
And
9
so
years
you
ago.
stumbled upon 101 as a client, like
Yep.
as somebody seeking help.
Yep.
And then where did it go from there?
Well, I got pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. I got pregnant, and this is our third baby. And I was a project coordinator at that time for a big roofing company, a commercial roofing company.
Okay.
And I loved my job. And I started from the bottom, worked my way all the way up. And I had to make a decision. Okay, am I gonna be mom and stay home and raise this baby, or am I gonna, give somebody else this opportunity to raise a baby so I can further my career?
Yeah.
At that time, it was a struggle because I love working.
Yeah.
I've been freaking working since I was 14,
Yeah.
so the hustle mentality started at a young age.
Right.
And I love doing that. I love feeling that value that comes from working.
Yeah.
But I also love being a mom.
Yeah. That's the constant parent struggle.
It is. It is. And so at that time, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to quit. I'll revisit this project coordinator thing later in life,
Right.
And if it's meant to be, it'll be meant to be. So then I quit that. And then I found 101. I got good at it. And then the person who taught me said, well, why don't you teach other people? I'm like, who the heck is going to listen to me? No way. Like, there's no way. That I didn't even want to think about it. Time went on, and I'm like, you know what? I'm already naturally telling people about it. I was telling family members, like, go see this girl. Go see this. I was just referring people. And she's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Why aren't you
doing it?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's just try.
Yeah.
So I jumped all in. And it was rough in the beginning because I was holding meetings in my house.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah.
The struggle. I was meeting in my house, and then I met like people at Zippy's.
Yeah.
Then on this one occasion, I went to Zippy's with a client that was referred to me. And as he's writing in his paper, and he's like, rest. And then he put like $50. And I was like, what is rest? I don't know what that means. And he's like, restitution. And I'm like, restitution for what? Like me being curious.
Right.
Expand. Like, what do you mean by that?
Please tell me more.
Yeah, tell me more. And he's like, oh, I just came out of jail. And I'm like, oh, damn it. Like, this is stopping right now.
Right.
So I remember going home and telling my husband, like, I can't be meeting random clients at the store. I can't be bringing random clients to our house.
You just don't know. You have to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he's like, well, why don't you find a way to meet these people online? And I'm like, oh yeah. Well, Zoom just came out.
COVID?
Yeah.
Zoom
This is
just
way
started.
before COVID, right?
Yes, way before. So
Like,
Zoom just came out.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I'm not even confident on that. But Google Meets was out.
Oh, okay.
So I started using Google Meets. Then it turned into, okay, if I'm going to scale this, which I could, let's stay home. Let me chop these meetings from which we're taking like 3 hours because you're eating dinner, talking story.
Yeah.
Only one dinner a night. Let's chop that to hour-long classes, and I could do 5
Yeah. A day.
in my pajamas.
Right.
Yeah.
While my kids are playing in the background.
Exactly.
I'm like, let's freaking go.
That's lifestyle by design right there.
Right. And so that kind of started. And then I realized, hour-long classes is just too long. Let's go 30-minute classes and let's do 8 a day. So I just started to build build from there. And then social media, I already had it, but I didn't know how to utilize it. So now I started to share it, and then boom comes budget with Soriah years later. So the idea was, here's these little things along the way. And as time went on, I'm sure you guys understand, is like, you want to scale. I want to build. I want to build this dream, but how do I do it?
Right.
And so that just kept going and going and going.
Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
Find a problem and you fix it. Right?
Yeah. So like, what are some of the basic things that people come to you for? What is the most common theme? You know?
I was kind of talking to you about this earlier. People come to me with problems. And I don't know if I just have this like attraction where people just like,
I think it's a Taurus thing.
It could be, you know, it could be.
But it totally, people come to me. You have that attraction.
They just come and they're like, I have a problem. Can you, you know, and so I listen. I am a good listener. My husband might say otherwise, but like I am for the most part a good listener. Kamohai is like, damn Tauruses. But I think as I could listen to people's problems, a lot of what their problems were, whether it was marriage or, you know, things that they were working with, had a lot to do with money. And somehow, some way, that always led back to this conversation of money. And so going back to that, it's understanding how to organize your finances, understanding the basic concepts of, wait, what is a statement date? Wait, what is a closing date? All these things. That's what I was able to teach them. Just very basic knowledge of that, and understanding that you can actually go to a bank that's in town and not have to drive to town. A lot of people bank where it's convenient. It's right across the street for them.
Right.
I'm like, wait, so you didn't even know what the products were that they offer. You didn't even know that there's a charge fee, all these things. They're just banking just because it's right across the street.
Right across the street.
Yeah.
You know, so knowing those types of things was huge, but really basic organization, you know, learning how to organize your finances. And then now that you've established that, let's create a budget off of that. Show me your income, show me all the debts you have. Okay, based off of this number, this is what your ideal budget should be. And can you stick to it? Right? Consistency is the key to anything in life. Anything. So while it is almost impossible, I've yet to find somebody who like 100% sticks to a budget. At least you had a game plan.
Right.
We will always fall off track. I fall off track all the time.
Right.
But I would rather you have a game plan to come back to than to continue walking around blindly trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I feel like a statistic that is common that I hear is that majority of marriages fail for money related issues.
Oh, 100%.
Well, not like majority, but a lot of marriages.
A lot of the
fail.
clients that I've dealt with are either going through marital problems because of finances, or they just got a divorce. And they're like, sorry, I need help. My wife did all the finances, or my husband did all the finances. I don't even know where to begin.
Right.
You know?
And we've had personal experience with that when we were renting. Our neighbor, who was technically our landlord, but his mom, it's complicated. Anyway, he was going through a divorce, and I think the wife handled a lot of the finances, and it wasn't that they couldn't afford anything.
They made money.
They made money, and he worked all the time. He was always working. But like one night, a car repo guy came to our door thinking it was for our car, and I was like, well, what the fuck? Why are you at my house? Like, what's going on? But it turned out because he didn't handle anything.
Oh, snap.
You know what I mean?
So
and like everything worked out, you know what I mean? But like I've witnessed how a one side of the partnership handles everything, and the other side just is in go mode. You know, they're just going to work, doing what they're supposed to do, but because the finances are taken care of.
Right. It's hard. I've seen in situations here locally, a lot of women take over the finances. Husband goes to work, women does all the finances. But if you talk to people in the States, Western culture, it's not like that. Husband goes to work, husband manages finances. Women stay home. Traditionally
is given some money.
Take care of the kids.
Here's the money. You do this. You do the shopping. Stay within this.
Interesting.
I'm like, husband, can you do this with us? Like, you know. But I think that just comes back to how we do things here in Hawaii. You know, for me, I feel like I grew up in a household where my mom ran everything. You know, my dad's job was go to work, provide for the family, come home, and then everything was pretty much there, taken care of, you know. But it's very different in the Western culture.
Yeah.
So
your
I mean,
family is pretty similar to that.
my dad does all the finances. Like this, I'm worried. Like I'm at a point where I'm like, Dad, can we sit down and like lay everything out for me? I'm the oldest son because my mom's so far removed from anything finances that if, God forbid, anything happened to my father, she would be
and
totally
of course he
lost.
sets it
You know
all
what
up,
I mean?
right? But like, what's the situation? We don't
what's
know.
the situation?
Right.
So I guess my question is, would you recommend that husband and wife are equally in the know? Do you think that's a good thing? Or is there a right way? Or, you know what I mean?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to goals, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think your folks' business and what you guys do, you work really well together and you can pick up where one person lacks. Some people can't do that with their spouses.
Yeah.
Where they're very much like, no, I want to focus on this lane, you stay in that lane. And that's fine. But it comes back to like goals and operation, you know, like how
alignment.
Alignment. How do you operate things in your house, you know? In our household, I just do everything. You know, I do the finances. I make sure the kids are good in this area. I'm chauffeur, cook, like
all the things.
like all those things. But my husband's good at doing sports, making sure that the kids are trained, making sure that he goes to work. So do we go over financial things together? No. But if he has concerns, then I definitely try to keep him in the loop.
Yeah.
And then that's how our family works. But I do have a lot of clients who do things together. They come to meetings together. They make decisions together, you know, so that in that event that something does happen, you know 100% what had to
exactly
happen.
what happened.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think there's pros and cons, but it just goes back to how does your family operate? What do they do?
And just having those conversations, those open conversations so that nobody's in the blind.
Right.
It's like, okay, if you don't want to participate in this, you're trusting me and we're acknowledging together that I'm handling this.
Right. I've been in situations where classes where like husband is forced to come into class. Yeah. And I'm kid you not.
Just
like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And I can tell that he's being forced to be in here.
How do you respond to that situation?
I call it getting him to lean in.
Yeah.
And so like as I'm talking, I am asking questions to see what's going on. And then I realize it's not that he doesn't want to be part of the conversation, it's the forcing that he doesn't want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Men like, can't feel like you
just freaking
made them do something.
Exactly.
Yeah. We know. We know. We know.
What can I say?
I think this is a Taurus thing. I'm told I'm too masculine sometimes.
You get that sometimes. People tell you that.
I've toned it down through a lot of like therapy, honestly. But yeah, I've always come from that. I feel like
you're speaking on my life right now.
Oh my God. No, but us as women become, and this is like a whole different conversation, but us as women become and pick up masculine traits because we had to.
Yeah. You're forced into positions. And I think this goes back to even my upbringing. Yeah. You're forced into positions that push you to hit survival mode.
Exactly.
And because I lived in a survival mode for so long, moves on the side, I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to do it the best way I know how.
Oh yeah.
And if you're either in my way or you're right here alongside me working.
Pushing with me.
Yeah, pushing with me.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of sometimes in these conversations with these, couples, I can see husband is being dragged and I have to let him know, I'm like, hey, your wife's doing an awesome job. Yeah. And if you're cool with her just managing it, like hand over that paycheck to her.
Right.
She got it.
Yeah.
She got it. You don't even need to worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes at that point of realization or talking through, they're like, oh, well, yeah, she does got it. Okay, babe, you got it. Then they don't need to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's kind of like that big fat Greek wedding.
Yeah.
It has to be the man's idea. It can't be the woman's idea.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I always have to tell them, like, let him come to that discovery on his own, whether that's openly talking about this issue. And if it's a situation where wife spends money, because sometimes it's the opposite.
Yeah, where
wife is blowing all the money and I have to ask her, I'm like, well, do you feel like you deserve to spend this money? What's the, it's almost like you have to be a therapist in some of these sessions.
1,000%.
100%.
You are an overall therapist with financial education principles.
Sometimes I'm sitting there and I don't know if you guys ever saw this reel, but one time I was in this class and I'm like, okay, what's the password for this? And the wife is like hesitant.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, give her the password. And I forget what the password was, but it was like John something XYZ. And he's like, John, like your ex-boyfriend?
Oh,
And I'm sitting there like, this just got
this is weird.
Change the password to awkward.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, girl, I text her on the side, like, you couldn't freaking change your password before you came to class.
Yeah.
He's like, John, your ex-boyfriend.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, well, his name's not John, his name's Mark. Like, that just got awkward.
You're like,
real quick.
okay, so there's deeper underlying issues here besides money.
Right? But that's kind of thing that I feel like with problems across the board in business, in marriage, in life, even single people.
Yeah.
Money, it comes back to money.
Yeah.
And so can you imagine if we created a system, or even in the educational system here in Hawaii, we did a lot more focus into here, I think we would have a lot less problems.
I agree.
100%.
And I think people would have the right foot off going to college, you know? Because even in college, you still don't even get some of
teach
you don't.
you any
They don't
of this.
teach you that.
I'm sorry, not in the public sector, not in the private sector, not in community college, not in private college. You do not get taught basic principles of financial education.
But I think that's what the public likes to do, right?
Yeah.
They like to keep people in this position where you need us to do this, you need to borrow money, and the cycle just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about that.
Our system is literally set up.
Yeah.
It's set up from
To
the
keep
very
people
beginning
broke
to
and
keep
in debt.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Because why though? Why is that?
I think it just comes back to how the banks are set up.
Yeah.
You know, they're for-profit organizations. They have to make their money.
Yep.
And the more, I think that's where 101 becomes so something that I think is important, is it teaches you, yes, get rid of the debt, but now learn how to leverage the bank's money to do bigger things, which is the investor mindset,
Totally.
right?
Yep.
Learning to leverage the banks. And one of the biggest things that I help people with is HELOCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and just learning, not everybody should be in a HELOC. Again, I'm putting a disclaimer, it comes back to your goals.
Right.
But learning that there's money out there, you teach people that OPM.
Yeah.
Well, like, let's learn how to use the bank.
Exactly.
You're sitting lot of these.
That's the biggest OPM.
Yes, there's the
Right.
biggest OPM, and you're sitting in it. You're sitting on equity, and you're thinking, okay, well, I could use this to renovate my house. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that's going to bring house value up, but why not take some of that money and use to invest it?
Yep.
Right.
You know?
grow it.
And grow it.
Passively.
It's available.
Exactly.
It's available, and people just don't realize that that's an option.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with another investor, Jeremy, and we were talking about HELOCs.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I didn't even realize that there's, this HELOC. And I'm like, yeah, there's lots of different options here.
Different products.
Yeah. Are you first position? Are you second position?
Yeah.
Like, there's different methods to this madness.
Right.
But if you understand just even the slightest bit, I promise the wheels upstairs will turn.
Well,
Yeah.
you'll see everything through a different lens.
Exactly.
Once you take that pill and you're out of the matrix.
No turning back.
You can't, because you know better,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like there's so much more opportunity when given the chance. And I think a lot of people just hear about 101 and they just close their mind off. They're like, oh, this and this. I'm like, but did you try?
Yeah.
Did you try and listen? Did you try to do your research? You
Right.
know, there's so much things, and it's not for everybody, but if you can see it and see the bigger picture, oh, you will go far.
I
Yeah.
agree. So
I mean,
much.
I think a lot of people too, maybe they're like getting by, right? Financially. And they're like, oh, I don't have like a issue.
Or they
you
have
know
like
what
that
I mean?
one
Or-
debt, but they're like chipping away
like
at
we're
it.
chipping away at it. It's
Yeah.
good. So like who is like 101 for? Is there a specific avatar?
That's such a good question.
I honestly tell people 101's for everybody, but you can align your finances to meet your specific goal. So it always comes back to this goal-driven mentality, right? Like, what is your goal? If your goal is to pay off debt, you should not be taking $50 here, $50 here, $50 here. And people are doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take my paycheck and I'm 20, 20, 20, 20. But I'm like, okay, what about the extra 500 that you got from that paycheck? They're like, oh, I'm going to leave it in savings. I'm like, no, you're making a penny, leaving that 500 in savings. Take that 500 and apply it to the highest
And you're
principal.
paying
You know what I mean?
how much on interest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So putting money into savings versus taking that 500 and applying it to the debt that's taking your money out of your monthly payment.
Yeah.
A lot
Right.
of people can't conceptualize, I'm paying my $50, but my balance isn't dropping. I'm like, because that's like, a lot of it is going to interest.
Yeah.
You know? But I've had these conversations with so many families, and it's like, understanding what interest is, how that's being calculated, and why your extra money that you have been taught now. Like this is something that gets taught in schools. Save.
Yeah, save.
I'm like, save what?
Yeah.
A penny?
Yeah.
You want me to save a penny, but I'm outputting $75 a month in interest?
Right.
Help that make sense
That
to me, because it doesn't.
They don't.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So taking all that money and putting it elsewhere is important. While I'm not saying, at the same time, savings isn't important, but a paid off credit card, that's savings. That's savings. That's leverage, right? Like,
That's
now you're
leverage.
changing this to think of it in a different way.
Yes.
You pay off that credit card, you've got that $5,000 credit card sitting on the side. Continue to take all that extra and put it away. Eventually, you're going to have all these credit cards that are paid off.
And then,
that's savings.
Yeah.
I
That's
love that.
emergency savings.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's very rare that we have to drain out $10,000 or $5,000 out of a savings account to go do something.
Right.
Majority of places nowadays can take card.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that, in that perspective, a lot of people don't understand
Yeah.
that.
Not to mention all the perks that come with actually utilizing credit cards.
Absolutely. Points.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge, right? Like,
you mentioned Disneyland.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sure
you
that
start
comes
to
into
rack
play.
those things up and you can use them. One of my favorite things is, if you're smart about your money and you're using your credit card to now, right? We understand the leverage thing.
Yep.
Right.
But a lot of people don't really understand that leverage, because
No.
if you're putting all your bills, let's give an example.
Yeah.
Person A is putting all their bills on the credit card. They're racking up points. You could turn around and use those points or cash back rewards. Christmas shop. You didn't
Yep.
pay a damn
Yeah.
thing.
You bought
Yep.
all your Christmas presents for your family
Exactly.
for $0.
For
Yep.
$0. That's leverage.
You went and
Right.
traveled on that vacation that you planned for using points. You stayed in
Exactly.
your airfare, your hotel, and a rental car
Exactly.
for free.
for free.
How do you think we travel?
I mean, that's the point,
literally
right?
it. Yeah.
Is to get to this position, where can I organize my finances and then start looking at a bigger picture? Where can I start leveraging other people's money?
Yeah.
So this other people money idea can apply in so many aspects.
So many
Real
aspects,
estate,
yeah.
your personal finances, and even business.
Totally.
You know? So
Yep.
I think the bigger thing that people need to realize is that this is an everyone problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times people internalize, like, oh, I can't ask for help. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten like text messages or even just a DM, like, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm so ashamed.
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
cut that shit.
Why?
Like,
Stop it.
why are you, why do you even start
What
off
is
the
that?
sentence with that?
Is that a cultural thing?
I think it
or
is a
what?
cultural thing.
I think it is, yeah.
To ask for help, to
Right.
be weak, to, they see that as weak. And I get it, because
Yeah.
I sometimes think the same way. It's like,
Yes.
I need help, but if I say I need help,
that,
I'm
like,
weak.
yeah.
Right,
I
right,
can't
right,
handle
right.
it. But the quicker you realize that if you can ask for help, the more better off you are
Yeah.
in unpacking those problems, right?
Totally.
So I get these messages and they're like, Soriah, I'm so sorry. I know you're busy. You're a mom. And I'm like, stop
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
What do you need? Just be direct. Tell me
Yeah.
what you want.
Right.
They're like, I need to pay off my debt. I'm like, perfect. Do this, do this, do this.
Nice.
And the quicker we can get to that point, the better off you are,
Yeah.
because denial can kill you. Like,
Yeah.
being in denial can just make or break everything.
Right.
In all aspects of life.
In all aspects, you
Yeah.
know, and I've been through that. And I think that's the one thing that I try to tell my clients is, like, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
The quicker you can figure out what that solution needs to be and you tell me what you want, I will get you there. Now, while I can give you the tools, at the end of the day, it falls back in your hands. What you choose to do with your money is entirely up to you. I'm not going to sign into your bank account and be like, you spent $200 at
Yeah,
Target.
yeah, yeah.
What the hell
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a you thing.
Right.
Right.
But I will make sure that your basic knowledge, your tools is available to you.
Right.
All I'm asking you to do is listen and be consistent.
Yeah.
You will succeed.
Yeah.
Now, to train you how to change your mindset about money, like, that's a whole nother level. And we
Yeah.
can get to that point.
Right.
But show me what you're working with right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I pride myself on is, like, okay, don't be ashamed. Don't come to this class with any fear, because I expect that you're asking me for help. So I'm going to expect that I'm going to just tell you what you got to do.
Yeah.
And now that you're here, get this done, be consistent.
Yeah.
And then you come back to the drawing table and I'll help you to the next problem.
Right.
You know?
And the next.
And the next and the next, because it will happen that way. It will happen. Well, you'll freaking blow this out of the water. You paid off all that debt. Now what? Okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right, right,
You
right,
know?
right.
And so I think I'm really good at listening to people's problems, getting them to the point where they need to fix it, and then start helping them imagine now what?
The possibilities.
Yeah, the possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary person.
You are. You're a meet and assess, plan of action,
Yep.
and then constantly move the target.
Yep.
Well, let's go there real quick on the mindset thing, because like we're real estate people. You're obviously in this space, but a lot of what we see for people that are getting started, they're like, okay, I buy into real estate. Feel like this is what I need to do. Just like, okay, Soriah, I understand. Like, I want help. I want knowledge.
Right.
And then they've taken that first step, and then they just hit this wall. They're like, they may have done some things, but they hit a wall, and it all comes down to their mindset.
Right.
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 And we have to work really hard on breaking through that. Right. Or showing them ways and techniques to work on that part, right? So do you see a similar thing in your space, and how do you have them like work through that mindset
chip away
thing?
at that monster?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I think it comes back to how I felt, right? Like the shame.
yeah,
And I think about my grandma, my dad's mom was this like amazing powerhouse woman. And I think a lot of how I am is attributed to her. She just was the life of everybody. You know, she could just change just from walking into a room. She could change the energy.
yeah.
Wow.
And I think about that. If I'm going to walk into a class, I better have high freaking energy.
Yeah.
And I learn to read people. If that person is struggling, I'm like, hey, let's put the class down. Let's talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like what's the bigger
Yeah.
issue?
Yeah.
Mentality is everything.
Right.
But understanding what it's going to take to help people to come out of that is even bigger. I've been to trainings with 101 where I've spoken to people, and the common issue is, I'm so afraid. I'm shamed to put it out there. I'm shamed to talk to people. I'm shamed to tell them. I'm like, you have to let that go. And if it means putting on a totally different personality to come out and do that, try it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Try it.
Yeah.
And I often say that to people. It's like, don't cut it until you try it. It's
Yep.
like trying something new, food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people have you known that only eat the same thing every time they go
my
to the
daughter.
restaurant?
Tons.
You know?
Yep.
I'm like, but did you try it? Try it. Because
Yeah.
once you try it and your mouth salivates, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, it's the same thing with your mentality. You're going to have these blocks. But the minute you can try, and I tell my older daughter this all the time, I'm like, put that ego aside.
Yeah.
And just try to be this different person.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are opposite from me. And she's like, yeah, but you're the go-getter, Mom. And I'm like, you try be like me then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then see what you can do better than me. Because I know you'll be better than me, and you'll figure it out. A lot of the people that we follow on Instagram, we take bits and pieces of what they're giving to us, and we try to adopt it into our life.
Right.
And that's the beauty of growing your mentality, is like
Yeah.
you can see these things and try to change that.
And you don't have to be the person that you've been. You can be whoever it is you want to
Right.
be. And people think, oh, well, I'm only this way and I'm only this thing. And it's like, no.
Well, and I think there's
You're
this huge
not.
fear of imposter. Like, I don't want to be somebody
yeah.
else. I imposter fear. I'm like, you're not though.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're absolutely stealing somebody's content, then that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But like coming into class and unpacking this with people, and I listen to them talk, I have to be able to listen.
Right.
To listen and hear the problems that they're dealing with and say, okay, yeah, I totally understand that. I validate what you're saying. But now let's take this a step further and let's try this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's critical for people to understand. We were talking about this offline, that there's different parts of the same person, and you can tap into those parts when you need them.
Yeah.
And that's still, all these different parts create a whole person. And so if you're denying one part or you're only leaning into another part, you're really not experiencing the full version of you. And the full version of you is one that's fully acknowledged, and one that's like basically you're your best version of yourself when you're tapped into all of those.
Yeah.
And who's to say that one part of you isn't that put on that Beyonce and go out and conquer the world?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you were talking about. But like people think that they don't that they can't do it or that they don't have all these different parts of them?
Well, I see so much on social media, and it took a while for me to back up and kind of understand what's happening, because social media has the ability to convince you to go this way, totally left, and you have to be like this in order to be successful, right? And it happens a lot with branding. It happens a lot with marketing. Like, you only going to be successful if you do it like this person.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the quickly you can understand and say, well, I like this person because of this. I like this person because of this. You start to learn from these people and then say, is that something that makes sense for my group of people that I'm trying to teach? And it's the same thing with finances. Is paying off debt important to me, or is getting into investing important to me? Because sometimes I talk to people and they're in debt and they're like, I don't give a rat's about that.
Yeah.
I want to start investing.
Right.
And I have to be able to say, okay,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Let's go that route.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to really dig deep and figure out, what is it I want? What do I need to do to get there? I sat in this training one time and they said, when you understand the why, it's very easy for you to figure out the how.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Dude, that's so big. We tell the people the same thing when they want to
All
get
the
starting
time.
in real estate.
Yeah.
And we always hint back to the exercise that helped us figure out what that is. And it was the 7 layers of why, and peeling back the onion and asking yourself in like a genuine, willing to go deep way, whatever your first answer was as to why do I want to get out of debt? Oh, well,
Right.
I want more money. Okay, but why do you want more money?
Right.
And then going until you really get to the root of it all. You know what I mean?
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
I feel like social media, and I say this a lot, almost forces you to think that there's one right way.
Oh, right.
Or there's a right way to do things.
Right.
Right. And I feel like in this day and age, and especially in real estate, and I'm sure in the financial education space,
They kinda go hand in hand.
there isn't a specific right way. Everybody, like you were saying, has to evaluate like what is important to them.
Right.
And then you make a plan of action towards that.
Right.
Right. But I think, I get it. Social media is like, okay, this person does it like this. I need to do this,
Right.
and this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think about my own personal social media. One of the biggest things that I think over time I've been comfortable with, a lot of people would be like, oh, you post so much about your personal life. And I'm like, I want somebody to say, I like this girl. I like that she's a mom. I like that she, lives in Hawaii, the same place I grew up, or something like that.
Yeah.
To find connections. And I think you guys feel the same.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
see this.
Totally.
That's why I connected with you. I'm like, she's a local
We
girl.
had
Yeah.
similarities.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty about social media. But at the same time, I tell people, don't get so hung up on your content and teaching. You have to think, what can I bring to the table?
Yeah.
How can I add value to your life?
And show up organically.
Yes, and show up organically. But I even think about my classes. I'm like, yes, you're coming to me for this type of thing. And you could have any instructor out there. And there's thousands,
I can teach you that.
That can teach you the same
Yeah.
thing. But what can I bring to you and to add value to your life?
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've talked about credit,
Yeah.
like going into credit. And
Yeah.
some people come to me specifically for that. Like, I need help with credit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a credit expert.
Yeah.
But I know enough to add value to
Totally.
your life. And
Yep.
then you take what you need from that and then go and run with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit here and tell anybody I'm an expert, because
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But
It's hard for us to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
'cause
hard,
people
you know?
view you in that manner, though.
I
You know?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I put a lot of effort to do that. But I'm also, I feel I'm not an expert, but I will sit here and tell you, I will bring freaking value to
Yeah.
your
Your
life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I can't figure out how I'm going to bring value to your life, I will go find the people.
Well, find the people that
I'll
can.
find the people that will bring you
I
that
like
answer.
That. I
you
like
know?
that. Be like, I'm not an expert. I'm a value provider.
Yeah.
That's dope.
You're just helping me build my
There
mind
you
right
go.
now.
There you go.
Check.
That's what it's about.
There's your
But
brand.
you know this, as you have these conversations with people who think with very similar mindsets, like,
Yeah.
how can I go out and win the day? How
Yeah.
can I go out and help people? You start to build upon each other's conversations,
Totally.
and it leads you to this next place.
And
Yeah.
that's why you got to get in the right rooms
Right.
and be around the same minded
100%. And because
Yeah.
when you sit in that room, and if you didn't get away from that training exhausted, thinking like, oh shit, I'm ready to take on the
Yeah,
world,
let's
Then you're in
go.
the wrong room.
then you're in the wrong room,
Yeah.
and you're with the wrong people.
Exactly.
And I 100% believe that. I've sat in classes with clients and they're teaching me something and I'm like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like if you take that there and you start to run with it, and that's even with the construction company that I work with now, they had a need for education in the finances. And then now we come here and we were just building and building. And now look, I meet you guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you got to keep pushing, keep pushing. Don't let negative mentality and negative thoughts stop you from building on the next big thing.
Yep.
I love that so much. Okay, I just want to go with some like practical things that people can do. Like when you said you meet people where they're at with, and you establish a current budget.
Yep.
What is that? Are there certain things that you hit, like certain percentages that you allocate for this and this on a budget, or is it very?
That's
every
a good
budget,
question.
You know what I mean?
I think
like
a lot of people Pinterest like this thing, and they're like, "Oh, okay, here's this rule. You put aside 30%."
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of my biggest things is when you run numbers are just going to tell you yay or nay, and you know this, right?
Yeah.
Like you can look at a number and it's like, nope, that's not going to work.
Even if
that
you want it to be yay, it's a nay.
It's a nay.
Right.
So as I'm looking at income, when you look at your income and you're subtracting line by line, you start to see that balance in the right column change.
Yep.
And if you're looking at that and you realize, okay, I'm spending $400 of groceries a week, $200 in gas and whatever that may be, and it totals up to $900 a week. Do you like that bottom number?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're looking at that like, absolutely not. I'm hitting negative.
Yeah.
I'm like, then freaking go back up here to the top and change that grocery number, change that gas number, change that going out number till you are happy with that bottom number. And that's the beauty of adjusting it. Because numbers 1 + 1 is always going to be 2.
Always.
Don't listen to my kids. They're like, it's square.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's not. Who told you that? It will always be 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So knowing that, it comes back to executing a plan. Execute the plan, right? Obviously, if I had to give somebody tips without coming to meet with me, write out how much you make.
Right.
Write out how much debt you have in each category. Write out how much you pay minimum. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, I pay $300. I'm like, well, stop.
Yeah.
Tell me what the minimum is.
Right.
Tell me what the minimum is. And then from there, write out all your expenses, right? Fixed and variable expenses. Fixed that you have to pay, variable that you control how much you pay. And that fluctuates.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you take that and you put it into a spreadsheet. And you could do this by paper, whatever you have, Excel or even Google Sheets, whatever.
Yeah.
And line by line, list those items and watch that number change.
Yeah.
If you don't like that number, you have the ability, the power
adjust.
to change it.
Right.
And if you have to make cuts, let's say that I made a reel about this. It was a person had Disney Plus, they had YouTube TV, they had all these things. I'm like, you watch all of this daily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the answer was no.
Yeah.
I'm like, then why the heck are you paying them that much?
Yeah.
I'm like, you really want to be cheap? Be like me. Borrow your in-laws.
Borrow. Yeah.
The best budgeting advice I can give somebody is borrow your in-laws.
Borrow the in-laws Netflix.
I'm like, you buy Netflix, you do this, and we'll share. You know, don't be surprised if they freaking like figure that out. I'm sure they have.
But that's a great idea.
But you know, those things, like, why are we having Roku TV, YouTube TV, and you have cable? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Why are you doing
It's
that?
ridiculous.
You know, but as you talk them through this, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You know, we get so excited to start up new memberships. Like, oh, I got this and I got that. But then you really break it down and you unpack all of that and you're like, it's not necessary.
No.
I definitely don't watch that. I'm watching more Prime Video than I am watching YouTube TV. Let's just keep Prime.
Yeah.
Right? Cut all the other stuff out.
Yeah.
So it's really helping people to unpack all these beliefs that they need this, I need this, and then helping them see, okay, well, you really didn't need it, so let's cut it out. How do you like that bottom number now?
Right.
Right.
They're like, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now that you like that bottom number, can you stick to that budget we talked about? And a lot of times when I talk to people about budget, they think that means fixed expense and variable expense. I'm like, those are two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Fixed and variable, those are your, those are the things you have to pay for.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about budget, I mean budgeting your variable expenses. How much do you spend on groceries weekly? How much do you spend on gas, eating out?
Yeah.
I've seen clothes and all these things. And I'm like, are those necessary? Are those necessities to live? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, budget for your necessities to live.
Yeah.
Everything extra comes from that bottom line that you have extra money for.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is your first priority. And rule of thumb here in Hawaii, I usually say 100 to 150 per person. And that includes kids because things have just like gone up.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
a family of 7, total 9, right?
Yeah.
I cannot afford $900 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we adjust from there. If I were to put $900 a week in my expense sheet, there's no way my bottom number would be freaking negative.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and then we look back at that. I'm like, okay, what can we cut out?
Yeah.
We are not eating out every day. Pick one day out of the week.
Yeah.
I've also started this thing with my kids, and this is more of this year. So I'm trying this out, and it's actually been working really well.
Oh, good.
Is that the kids are old enough to make dinner. So I'm like, okay, you pick a dinner.
Oh, there you go.
pick a dinner.
I've
you pick
seen
a dinner.
this.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Yeah.
And I'm watching my kids get so excited about this because I send them to the store. Here's mom's card. Learn how to calculate everything. Use the calculator. Punch out how much it's going to cost. You go to the payout and you check out. Press the debit card number, whatever you need to do. And then now you know. You know that if I'm giving you a budget of $50 to spend for dinner, but that dinner is specifically going to cost you $80, what's the next dinner option you have?
Right.
So I think for me, it's like teaching my kids to do things that eventually is going to turn around and help them later in life.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
that
kind of value I
100%.
want to bring to them.
Yeah.
You know? So teaching them to make good meals. But now as a parent, it's like, okay, well, let me take this a step further. Hey, mom, dad, every Wednesday we're going to play sports. I'm going to come to your house for dinner. Are you cool with that? My parents were, overjoyed. We'll do dinner
they're
every
happy.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
You just
totally.
saved me another $100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why we do dinner twice
Thursday,
a week.
Thursday nights.
It's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So those are little things you start to discover, you
Yeah.
know, like how can you save money in these weekly expenses?
Yeah, I love that.
And coordinate trips. Don't just go to Costco because you want to go to Costco.
Yeah.
I have been in Costco lines where I see one person check out with one thing.
And you're like, why?
You're like,
And I'm like,
what?
what the?
Why?
You did what?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I just live down the street. I'm like, who does that?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
A lot of
Yeah.
people, man.
I live
A
in,
lot of people.
I drive
Yeah.
an hour to Costco. So
Yeah.
you best believe I'm going to make my trip worth it.
Totally.
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Big time.
So there's so many ways you could go with this.
I love that.
But-
Okay, so another like quick bullet point maybe you can hit on is somebody is like, I want to raise my credit score. What's the best way or quickest or whatever way you're gonna?
In my opinion, whatever it's going to take to get you to your point, like that's what
Yeah.
I'm willing to share. So if it's going to bring value, I think
Yeah.
the fastest ways that I've seen is number one, being an authorized user. Now let me expand on this because there's people who are like, oh yeah, my dad has a big credit card. I'm going to get on that. But dad missed like 5-6 payments.
Right.
Don't
You
get
don't
on
want
that
that.
Right.
You know what I would be really smart is that I see, and this is kind of underground, but like I've seen people sell their credit cards.
Yeah.
You know?
I've heard of that
too.
before. Yeah.
So I mean, I've yet to find people, but I've definitely wanted to do that where I've like, okay, are you willing to add this person, you know, for bigger methods? And you can always remove them. That's your
Right.
right. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do
yeah.
that. That's your money, you know?
Yeah.
So obviously one, adding as an authorized user, but
Okay.
also knowing the payment history, how long they've had that credit card. A credit card for 5 years or more is a good history. But also the limit and what is the ratio of that? How much is being used and how much is available? So if you can keep that in mind and maybe ask grandma, ask auntie, ask your boss at work, hey, you know what? I'm trying to qualify for this home. Can I add on myself to, you know,
Yeah,
and
like a
be
business.
strategic.
Yeah.
6 months before is ideal.
Yeah.
Can you just go in a little bit for like a layman? What does that mean? Authorized user.
Yeah.
What is that?
So you can add yourself to be a fly on the wall on someone's credit profile for that specific card. And I say that for credit cards only because that's what really the authorized user technique works for.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do not have access to call in and say, hey, can I pay this or can I change this? You don't have that access at all.
Right.
As an authorized user, you can be a fly on the wall for somebody's profile and that person, you could actually have them not get a card.
Yeah.
So they don't need it.
No,
They
they're
will get sent to
literally
you.
just writing.
Adopt it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Writing the good credit history. That's
Right.
all. That's a great method.
It is time and time again one of the best methods I've seen. And a parent can do this as well. You can call up the credit
their
card company
child.
and say, hey, my child's 16. Can I add them? Yes, you can. And they don't need it.
They don't need the card either.
But by
So-
the time they graduated, they're already set.
And
Yeah,
they have a
see.
good credit.
And so the
Yeah.
authorized user gets all of the person's credit history
Just for that specific
just
card.
for that card.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So like is there like a measurable thing that somebody with like on their credit score would get from being added as an authorized user or like
when you say measurable, like how can you tell that it's helped?
Yeah.
So I am a big fan of free credit score monitoring programs. So like Credit Karma. Now they're not the most accurate, right? But they give you a basic estimate. Yeah. And they've improved so much. Their platform has changed drastically.
Yeah.
Right.
So just from that alone, you should be able to see that it has changed by adding that in.
Within how long do you normally see the change?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So normally these big credit card companies, Amex, Citi, Bank of America, which I mean, Bank of America is having some drama right now, so stay away from them. But these bigger companies, they are supposed to report every 30 days, right? So if you really want to be extra strategic, you could look at Credit Karma and break it down and see, okay, it looks like they report
on
this credit card on this day. And so sometimes in classes when we're going over a debt payoff and I'm like, okay, I want this person to have a big win. They want to pay off this credit card. I go and I say, okay, pull up your credit report real quick. Let's take a look. And we're looking at Credit Karma and I'm like, the card that's going to report next week is this one. And they've got like $3,000 that they can throw to that credit card.
Throw at
that one.
Yeah.
They're going to get back a report that says, hey, your credit score went up like 20 points.
Yeah.
Right.
Big win.
Huge
big win. But now let's expand on that.
Mm.
Once they can understand that, I'm like, okay, you brought down that credit card, your credit score went up. Ask that same credit card to increase your limit. Boom.
And it goes up again.
Credit score goes up again.
Wow.
Because
cool.
why?
Because the limit has spread out. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest utilization issues is, I mean, one of the biggest things on credit is utilization.
Yeah.
So not only did you bring down the utilization, but now you increased it because your credit score shot up 40 points in the last couple of weeks. You can open it up even more.
Okay, can you try and break that down a little bit? What is utilization for somebody who doesn't understand what you're talking about?
They're in a credit score. It's almost look at it like a pie, right? In a credit score, there's a pie and there's different sections. One of the biggest section of a credit score is utilization, meaning how much of my $1,000 credit card am I utilizing when it's time to report? Because I know people who pay off their credit card before it's even, before it's even due.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a negative to that.
Yeah.
Because are you using it?
Yeah.
Right.
When it's time to report, you're showing 0 out of 1,000 being used. Now, credit needs to be used in order for credit to be grown.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be strategic, let at least $100 of that 1,000 showcase that you're actually using it.
Right.
Because if you're just paying it off, then you're not using it.
Yeah. So why would they increase it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's okay to show this usage on there. But sometimes I deal with clients who have like 95% used.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously that's not a good sign of responsibility.
Right.
So let's try to pay some extra. Perfect. Now your credit score has gone up. You're at about a 75% ratio. Ask if they could give you an increased bump of 1,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Boom. Now your utilization went from 75 down, but your credit score went up. Now let's take all this extra money that we were focusing and let's go to the next credit card.
Right.
We buy you some time.
Yeah.
And the beauty about credit is, and this is different from loans, people don't understand this. They'll compare a 3% credit or line of credit and compare it to like a 5% line of credit, and they'll compare it to like a 3% personal loan. Those two things are calculated very differently.
Totally different. Right?
You know what I'm saying? Because you could pay down this line of credit and then suddenly you have 0 payment.
Yeah.
But you pay down this personal loan, that didn't change your payment.
Right.
That payment stays the same.
Yeah.
So there's two totally different control there. And
Yeah.
understanding that control is so important.
Different types of debt.
Yeah. So I explain to people, while it's nice to get rid of that personal loan, it's going to take you some time because of this.
Right.
But if your focus is, I need to improve my credit, I need to improve my monthly payments that I'm outputting, let's get rid of the debt in credit cards, because as you pay down that debt, credit score goes up, but also your monthly payment changes.
Goes
It
down.
goes down. It gets to a point where it's manageable. Now let's take all this extra money and funnel it to here.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And let's
Love
do
that.
that.
So
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
Let's compress that.
Yeah.
Is there a measure for utilization for a card that's like, okay, you want to stay below this % in order to be like the best steward of the card or something.
You know, a lot of people have opinions on this.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes back to, again, what's the goal? Like if you're going to do some big purchasing stuff or you're trying to increase your purchase power, then showing that you're going up to that. And then right before, you know, you're able to pay that down. I've even heard techniques, and I've never tried it personally, but techniques of paying the card off during the week, paying off the card in the week, and then they can see how much usage is going on. But the best way to figure that out is call the company directly.
Yeah.
Right. Just
And
ask.
pick their brain.
Yeah.
Talk to the different people there and say, hey, no, I don't want to talk to somebody who's just taking a payment.
Yeah.
I want to talk to your relations manager or somebody, somebody that can offer you that increase.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times people don't realize they get denied for a card. I'm like, call them.
Yeah.
Ask them why.
Yeah.
It could be a computer error or
Yeah.
something that they didn't
Yeah.
quite understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Get on the phone with a relations manager and ask them, hey, you know what? I do this. What financial statements do you need from me?
Yeah.
Right,
Because if you're making $200,000 a year and you got denied for a credit card,
There's something wrong
that
there.
is something
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Red flag.
Some
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
missing information they might not have from
Somebody
you. It
pushed the wrong
automatically-
button.
Right.
Or it could be something as small as like one document.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they deny you because you don't have that document. But if you just called them up and they're
You
like,
would
yeah, I
know.
just need this
Exactly.
one document, it's a no-brainer. So-
Exactly.
Yeah.
So finding those methods. And then the other idea with credit is like utilization is important, but having different types of credit on your profile is huge. Are you all credit cards? Are you all personal loans? What type of personal loans?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like I always try to preach that diversify your credit profile so that when somebody opens it up and looks, they're like, oh yeah, you have your hands in different things.
Yeah.
And you're
stable on all of them.
You have a
Yeah.
versatile profile.
Yeah,
So
that's
those types of things are huge.
Yeah.
But also making sure that you pay attention to terms, interest rates. And I'm sure you guys understand this
Yep.
even with hard money lending.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, people are so quick to go with One Main Financial, but I'm like, that's 28%.
That's
You
not
know what I'm saying?
good.
Like shop around. It might be a very easy win, but that's like 28%.
Right.
Yeah.
So just being mindful of those types of things is huge.
So critical.
Could go
This
on
is so-
forever.
I know.
Could go
Okay.
on forever.
So you're still doing this. You're still offering, your services.
Yes.
Do you hold like workshops? You just doing one-on-one?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I do a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah.
I do it for businesses. I do it for personal finances. I don't do workshops, and Instagram has been the workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice there. But I think it is important for even the business aspect, like being able to understand your personal, but even translating that into business, because a lot of
Totally.
people commingle.
Yeah.
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 You know?
Yeah.
So understanding there what needs to be done is super helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's also business credit, which can be a whole nother.
That's
I know
a
you
whole
could
nother
have a
rabbit hole.
podcast on business
Just
credit.
on
I
that.
know it could go on
I
forever.
mean, that was like a game changer for us because we were dealing with this
In the
utilization issue, right? Like we put a lot of stuff on materials and stuff on
our
credit
personal.
cards.
So
on
what does that do for your credit card?
Right.
on personal credit cards, and we're not finishing these jobs for 6 to 8 months, so we'll carry that balance that
For a
whole
while.
time.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
After the third month, our credit score is dropping like
plummeting.
200
Sure.
points.
You know
You know
what I
what I mean? Because we're using all of our credit. It's
Right.
like $100,000 worth of credit, 90,000 is out.
You do what you got to do.
Right.
It's in the
To get
project,
to it,
you
right.
know? And so we were just it was hurting our
Yeah.
personal credit,
Yeah.
and got involved with business credit, and it's not gonna affect our personal credit,
anymore.
right? And switched everything over that way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, that's
We know what that's like to be on that roller coaster.
coaster.
Of credit. And it's a song and a dance, and it can get really frustrating. But if you know the little tips and tricks that you're referring to, it just makes it that much easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what do you focus on now? So you're still focused on that. You still do that.
Yep.
What have you added into your entrepreneur?
I wear
visionary-
many hats.
I know.
I wear many hats, but I love it because I think what I realized is that people were coming to me for a lot of different problems. Like I said in the beginning, like, Soriah, I need help with this, or I need help with this. And I quickly learned that I am good at helping people solve through these issues and kind of, like we said, like liaison through these things. And so I actually help with a lot of different businesses, construction, tour.
Yeah.
And like what I do for them is really that liaison and
Yeah.
helping them connect. So when a company has an issue, and mainly the issue comes back down to scalability.
Yeah.
How do I scale? I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
well, do you have social media?
Yeah.
Do you have an accounting team? You know, like what is it that you need?
Yeah.
So as I discover that, then I make those connections. I think I've been very blessed over the years to establish, and it came down to 101, right?
Yeah.
Like learning and meeting all these clients. I'm like, you do what?
Yeah,
wow, I could use that
You
later,
laid a solid
know?
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people trusted me. People trusted me and came to me for help, and I was able to turn around and return the favor. And so what I do now is if I can see that your business needs help to scale, I start to put together a plan to help you scale that business.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that can be in the financials, that can be in, you know, social media marketing and things like that. So really build with Soriah. I really like that name.
It's so good. It's so good.
Come
I love
and
that too.
try it in a couple of months.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to figure that out. But really that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just helping people find out the need, understanding the why, and then I can help them figure out how.
Yeah.
So good.
So cool.
So you're a liaison for businesses pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love that
It's
my
a new
job
challenge every time.
every day. And my husband's like, wait, what are you
Yeah.
doing? And I'm like,
What are
I
you
get
doing
it.
now?
I get it. I know this seems confusing, but I think for me, I enjoy meeting with people. I'm a people person, 100%.
100%.
But I also enjoy solving people's problems. I may not be good at solving my own, but like
It's a tourist problem.
it's the truth.
my
But
gosh.
I totally enjoy helping people figure out how to thrive and grow their businesses because I think that's where the fun is. And
It
so
is.
I enjoy, it doesn't have to be, it could be a hair business. It could be,
Anything.
you know, any type of
Yeah.
business. Tell me what you're looking for and I can
Yeah.
figure out how to put you in place with the right people.
I love that.
So-
It's so
So
needed
good.
because like we were also talking about offline, when you are in that building phase and you are a one person team and you're just growing and you're in the thick of making the day-to-day flow and work and you're constantly putting out fires and wearing that hat and doing that, you can't even be in that creative mindset or even know where to turn to get to the next level of where when you started the business, you knew you wanted to be here.
Right.
And you got yourself here.
Right.
But you're so busy running everything that you don't even know how to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that who, not how concept. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't have to know how to do it.
Right.
You just need the who
Right.
to help you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's also good to have like a third party outside
Yeah. View.
right view of looking at the whole business in a big picture. And a lot of times when you're in it, you just can't see what you can't see.
You're blind.
You're literally just task oriented and working on putting out the next fire. So yeah.
I remember sitting in or being on a phone call with my husband one time and he's like, hey, my coworker is asking me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, so tell him. He's like, I kind of don't understand what you do.
How do I articulate that?
He's like,
We're like, she does this, and then she does this, and
yeah.
then she does this.
He's like, I just don't really understand what you do. And I'm like, well, what's the problem? So a lot of times people just don't understand. They think, you know, one thing and they're like, wait, but do you do this? And then I listen to their conversation, what the issue is. And at that time it was, he wanted to refinance his house. So it doesn't necessarily mean he needed budgeting.
No.
He was
Right.
good at that.
He just needed a connection to figure out what
And
that
he's-
is and how to do it.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know a loan officer. Let me
Right.
put you in touch with them.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
So it's kind of turned into that where it's like, what do you do? And I remember talking to the construction company one day and he's like, well, what do you do for work? I'm like, well, what do you need?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's, I quickly flip that question on you. It's like, well, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right,
then
right.
as I listen to the problem, I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely help you with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
We have to figure out though. You're a consultant, 1,000%. But is it like a needs consultant? Because you're not just a business consultant.
No.
You're like personal. You're not just relate. Are you a relations consultant? Like, well, I'm gonna figure that out.
I think I need
I
to
know.
hire you.
Yeah.
Going to
Seriously.
work together. That's
yeah,
so funny.
it just changes based off of needs, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But and that for me is the most exciting part of
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
is that you have the ability to make your own, and I've done the 8 to 4 thing. I am not an 8 to 4 person.
Yeah. Tell me
Same.
about it.
I've done it too.
You know, and I don't want to be in that world.
No.
Yeah.
I've done that
It's
too.
wild.
I can't. I need a new challenge every day.
Yep.
Obviously, we like some normalcy, right?
Right.
But like, we need to be on to the next and like seeing this and
Right.
solving that.
Right.
And, yeah.
Well, I think that's why real estate's worked so well for us is because we're very much like you, where we want to like add as much value to the world, right? And a lot of the times for people in the real estate space, we're solving problems.
Right.
So we're a problem solving company, right? And we're able to help people solve problems while at the same time building something generational for our family. I just don't think that there's any other like vehicle that can do those two things as well, right? And so having a mission to help people and being able to fulfill that, and then also like building something special for your family. I don't know. It's just like the best of both worlds. It's
really
crazy.
Is. But I think the beauty, like there is a struggle, and I'm sure you guys can relate, struggling working from home. You know, you go in and out of these phases, but there is beauty in being a parent and teaching our children what it's like to overcome adversity and overcome these struggles. And we see it all the time in our home. You know, I'm over here like running into the closet, doing a Zoom call, going into the bathroom, like, shh, be quiet. I'm on the phone, you know, but like, there's beauty in that because the kids see it and they learn to overcome these things. And as I'm watching my kids have conversations, I'll never forget the day that my son was like, dude, what's your credit score? And I'm like, what is he saying? You know, but like you can't help but sit there and like appreciate those moments, because that would not happen had I been at an 8 to 4 job.
Totally.
So in those moments where I feel like I'm just ready to call it quits and get back to an 8 to 4, and I see those little moments, I'm like,
that's why
it's freaking worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that is unreal. And it really comes down to, I think a lot about, we hear, and we were talking about this earlier, that there isn't enough financial education out there. We're not taught that in schools. But where do we draw the line, right? Do we just go through the next generation and continuously complain about the schools and society not
and
teaching our kids financial education? Or is it our responsibility as parents to, now we've become woke, right? We understand that there needs to be this so much more revolving around financial education to then teach our children, right? And I think the best way to do that is through showing them. That's how it is. So like being able to have that struggle at home, but like you were saying, they get to experience that as well. And then we pass that knowledge on to them. And then that cycle is broken, right? Yep. They then pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. So yeah, I think it's such a blessing to be able to be an entrepreneur, but then at the same time, you know, experience that struggle.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the good caveat into this question is, what is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome since entering the world of entrepreneurship and being your own boss?
I think for me is just learning to manage being a mom and manage a business, you know, and again, this is multiple businesses. Yeah. So changing hats from one section to the next section to the next section, but also remembering that I have to be a mom. I think 100% of my ability to change has come from my experience of being a mom. I have 7 kids and people tell me all the time, like, that's crazy. You can't believe you have 7 kids. And I'm like, you know, managing 7 kids is a lot like managing a business. Yeah. Learning to be patient. Yep. Learning not to blow up. And there's moments where I'm like,
ready to blow up.
Ready to dose you right now. For part of me. But you can say the same in business, right? Yeah. Like something messes up and you're ready to just let that person go. Yeah. You know? But when you can start looking at your business as if they were your kids and vice versa, and understand that not every day is going to be perfect, right? But you're going to get up the next day and try to get back on the horse and ride that. Yeah. Then you already won. Yeah. So I relate a lot of what I've learned in business in my experiences as being a mom. Yeah. You know, my oldest is 11, going to be 12, and my oldest kid, my husband and I talk about this all the time. Like my oldest kid, she has a very different personality from the younger ones. And that's because in the beginning, first baby syndrome, right? You give them everything. Yeah, totally. Like 100%. Yes. Oh my gosh, you did it so good. You know, and then later down the road, you're like, the next one comes and you're like, oh, you fell down. Yeah. You know,
good job, but
back up.
You'll be fine.
Yep.
You know? It's the same thing in business. Like you give this whole heart 100%, and then you go through these experiences and you're like, okay, well, what can I do better next time? Well, don't put so much energy into your failures. Yeah. just get back up and try again and try again and try again.
Yeah.
So I think that has, for me, learning to manage both of those worlds, the mom world and the business world, has been a struggle, but it also has been the biggest blessing because I can learn from those experiences and turn around and figure out how to build from that.
I like that. So that means you can have 7 businesses.
That's a good idea.
And they're all better than the last.
You know what I mean? You're like, well, this one's like this one, this one's like this one, this one's like
Yeah, you know, that one. My second daughter told me that she would love to do like a business where we all were a part of. And that kind of started with the idea of Soriah and Co. Like it's back when I made that, there was actually just 3 kids. But like really now I look back at it and I'm like,
you got a whole
I have
army.
a whole team.
Yeah,
It
you're an
really is
army.
Soriah and Company, you know?
Yeah.
But
That's
I
cool.
love that.
yeah, I love it too.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Are you a goal? I mean, I think you're a goal person because you're goal driven with your clients. So like what are your goals? What do you hope to accomplish in 2023?
That's a really good question.
I know.
A lot of what my focus have been for 2023 is mentality, mindset, a lot of mindset work. And I started this year focusing more spiritually. I think I consider myself a spiritual person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think I put that on the back burner because I let my human mind take precedence over what I'm trying to focus on.
Yeah, totally.
So I think just understanding that I need to put more effort into my spiritual mindset.
Yeah.
And I think allowing that space to enter more.
Yeah.
But that also gives me the ability to turn around and build more because I'm leading with the right intentions.
Yeah.
100%. And when that area is on E, it affects all other areas.
Absolutely.
And you don't really realize it sometimes until it's like
Too late.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think putting more focus into my spiritual mindset, which then in turn controls emotional and the rest
Everything
of your body.
else.
Has a ripple
Yeah.
effect.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It
really
goes back to
does.
self-care,
Yeah.
honestly.
Absolutely.
All of that, you know.
And I think just opening my mind to other opportunities. I think for a long time I felt success looked like this.
Totally.
But I'm like, until I can open up my mindset to see and take a look at the bigger picture, then I can see it and other doors will naturally open for itself.
And it's amazing how it
is.
happens.
When
Yeah.
you just let it be,
Uh-huh.
right? And not try to be this like Taurus, like control everything. And that's my natural, innate thing that I do is just I want to control.
Same.
But then I end up closing up
Yeah.
and I want to hide under the blanket.
Yep.
Because I think for me personally, I am a extroverted person, but I am also a very big introvert. When I feel overwhelmed, I want to close the door and shut everybody out.
Yeah. Close off.
I'm exactly the same way.
So 2023,
She's more introverted than you are.
I'm
though.
exactly I'm exactly the same way though.
it's crazy though. So I think of what do I want to be for 2023? I just want to be open.
Yeah.
I want to be
Yeah.
open to receive, but also give. I think there's so much of this effort that people do in giving service, but it's a whole nother thing to receive service
And accept it.
and accept it. And this is
Yep.
a cultural thing.
It is a
Yeah.
We
cultural thing.
struggle when people give me compliments or I give
hard.
people, they don't receive it.
Yep.
Like, nah, I'm good. No
Yeah,
need.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
Ah,
I get 'em. I
Like,
get 'em.
oh,
Yeah.
you're so pretty. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but that's a local thing we struggle with. So
Yeah.
just being open to just giving, but 100% receiving and learning that it's okay to be
Yeah.
in that.
I'd
you
be
know?
like, yes, I am that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a palms open type
Yeah.
of thing versus like,
Yeah.
closing off to everything. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I see for 2023 is being
I
open.
love
that.
that. I love
Yeah,
that so
super
much.
cool.
That's a lesson I think that everyone, especially entrepreneurs or people striving for more, needs to work on.
Yeah.
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 I do, because we see a lot of people that think success looks a certain way too.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, success is a very subjective internal thing,
Personal
right?
thing,
like
yeah.
personal thing. It doesn't have to be this.
What
you know
I
what
want
I mean?
out of life is
and you
different
don't
from what you
have
want
to
out of
get
life.
there from taking this path. Like there's so many things,
Right.
you know what I mean? And you literally don't know what you don't know. I feel like everybody in them has like hidden locked potential, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like a lot of times people go through their whole life without unlocking that.
Right.
They're just not, they don't see it. They think it has to be done this specific way.
Right.
Right. And so if you put intentionality into trying new things. That's how you unlock that potential, right?
Absolutely.
You force yourself to do these new things, and then you unlock things in you that you didn't even know existed.
Exactly.
Right?
I love that.
It's crazy.
It's exactly what we went through last night. We just signed them up for soccer because I was looking for an activity that they can do where I can take both of them, not be running all around.
Sure.
And my daughter is very much a go-getter like me, like her dad. She'll try anything. And she has a great attitude about it.
Right.
My son takes a while to warm up to things. So he's very like, I don't want to do it. He's the one that will be crying at a school performance and run off stage.
Right.
And so I was like, babe, we got to try new things scared. You can be scared and you still do it. It's that concept.
Yeah, totally.
And people get this. And I reposted something about having there's a misconception that we as humans take anxiety and we think it's anxiety when it's actually excitement and
confuse the two.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And because anxiety is more talked about, right? Like, no, it's fear.
Right.
But what if it's not?
Right.
You know what I mean? And even if it is, don't let it stop you.
Exactly.
Do it scared. I was like, mommy has to do stuff scared.
Exactly.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I can relate to this 100%. Our oldest daughter plays soccer, and she's very much that personality. And my husband said it perfectly. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he played professional football.
Oh, wow.
no way.
No, I didn't know that.
So he played professional football, college football. And so he's like, nobody knows it better than me when people are pushing you to expect a certain way or act a certain way, and you don't perform that way. They hate you.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to, they have the worst things to say about you. And you could totally fall into this. And we've talked about this. Like criticism can take you to way right, way left.
Yeah.
Right. But how do you receive it?
Yeah.
And the quicker you learn how to receive that criticism, the easier it is for you to break it apart and then improve with it. But admitting that, you know what, you were right, I got to do this, and then you can move forward with that. But I think even teaching our kids that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
Totally.
It is okay to make mistakes. And in our business, I think we don't talk about that enough.
No.
The mistakes, the struggle, the
Never do.
fear.
Yeah.
And social
Nobody
media
does.
doesn't help this.
No, not at all.
You know, we often showcase the best sides of us, not realizing it took me years to get to this
Nobody
point.
saw the dark.
Nobody saw that.
The crying,
No.
the wanting to give up. Nobody saw any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's been those moments. And I think the more we share that this is how you overcome the struggles, this is how you receive these types of things, the easier it is for you to not only receive that in your own self, but you're able to teach that.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what
able
I'm
to
saying?
show more people that we're not so different.
No.
You can do this too.
Right, right. And that's human.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
We are not meant to be perfect.
No.
Right.
You know,
Not
and
at all.
that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I watch my kids and I'm like, oh, she just dropped that. I really want to go and save them. And I'm sure any parent wants to do that, but you can't.
No.
You can't. And the quicker you can see that and teach them, it's okay to have fear.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah.
But when you can take that and move with it and
just
run
move
with it,
with it.
keep
That's-
moving.
Where
That's where the growth
everything is
happens.
unlocked.
That's
Yeah.
where the growth
Yeah.
happens. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I love that. I feel like that's a good place to end it with that high note.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
we could just keep talking and
how
talking.
how do people find you?
Oh,
Like, what if
that's a good
people
question.
are what
Yeah.
if people are like
They're like-
interested in 101? They're like, oh my gosh, I need to
Or I
know
just need to
Soriah.
connect.
Like,
Yeah.
how do I find her?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
You know, Instagram budget with Soriah 2 right now. 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother segment.
man, don't- let's not
Instagram
get
locking
in-
me
yeah.
out.
That's crazy.
I think it's just finding me on there, but also knowing that you can, if you don't want to reach me that way, you can call 101 directly.
Okay.
Call 101 directly and tell them, you wanted to reach out with me. But anybody you work with
Yeah.
is great.
Is
Yeah.
awesome.
Anybody
Yeah.
you work with is great.
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome.
So don't exclude yourself or feel like you have to just go to this one person.
Love that.
Cool.
So it's 101financial.com.
Correct.
And then it's at budget with Soriah 2.
2. You can try 1, but
She's not there.
She's locked out of her account. It's
Instagram.
Instagram.
Unlock
Get this
her.
fixed.
Give her thing back.
Yeah.
But it's soon to be billed with Soriah.
Yeah, I'm going to change it. I'm going
There
to
we
evolve
go.
that 100%.
This is super fun. Thanks for
so
chatting.
much.
No,
with
thanks
us.
for having
Good
me.
fun,
This
good
is
fun.
great.
This is a great conversation.
We'll have to have like a couple part series for
Yeah, that would be
business
fun.
credit
Yeah,
and
that would
there's
be
so
fun.
many
That would be
things we
super
could
fun.
talk about.
Yeah,
So.
because we've even had joint ventures together. So
Yes.
that would be fun to
It
revisit.
would. Yeah,
Totally,
it would. That would be
100%.
super fun to revisit.
I think it would be fun.
Okay, we're going to do a part 2 and a part 3.
Yes.
There we go.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.